Hi there, Serial Trader here. I want to point out a nice pattern that's forming here on McDonald's, ticker symbol MCD, and just start off with the big picture here. So from this significant low we had back here on the beginning of March 2018, we had a nice leading diagonal wave 1 as I have it labeled here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's where 4 and 1 must overlap, and that's where 3 needs to be shorter than 1 and 5 needs to be shorter than 3. And it's kind of a series of 3-wave moves, leading diagonal wave 1. So it's a different type of motive wave. It's not an impulse wave, but it's certainly a viable pattern. Anyway, so we have leading diagonal wave 1. We had a pullback in wave 2 that retraced between a 618 and 786 of the overall distance traveled in wave 1. So that's quite typical for a wave 2 retracement. And then we had a nice long wave 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even within the 3 of 3, you can easily count a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 3. But I didn't label those subdivisions on this time frame because it would just get clutter on the chart. And okay, that gave us that larger wave 3. And now we appear to be doing a pretty textbook looking contracting triangle wave 4 as it's currently shaping up. Looks like we're working the E wave here. And then once that's complete, expecting a big thrust out to the upside in wave 5. And a couple things. So I have the triangle thrust measurement, and that would get us to around 208 or so, almost 210. We have the 1.382 reverse Fibonacci of the largest portion of this triangle, which is the A wave. That gets us to around 200. And then the 2.0 gets us to over 210, so around 212. So some pretty decent targets here from current levels of around 180, and I think we'll go a little deeper possibly to finish wave E. And another thing I want to point out before I go in a little closer is, okay, you'll say, well, hey, don't we have 4-1 overlap? If wave 1 terminated here at 171.56 and the A wave of this triangle went as low as 169.04, doesn't that overlap? Well, the rule is wave 4 cannot end in the price territory of wave 1. So in something like a contracting triangle, as long as the E wave doesn't end in an overlapping position to wave 1, it's completely acceptable. So that's just one little nuance to point out. Now I will go in closer here, and let me do that. Okay, and I think we'll go to the 4-hour time frame. That should be good. Okay, so I just have the overall also retracement of this larger wave 3, okay? And 3, 2 is 176.46, and the 50 is 172.01. Now the A wave stabbed down deeper than that, but what I'm more concerned about is where this E wave ends up terminating. So I'd like to see, ideally, the E wave terminate around this 382 retracement level, which is at 176.46. So, roughly $4 or so below current levels, although that's not a huge difference. Now I just want to go in a little closer, like I said, and what we'll look at is some relationships here. So if we're working another zigzag for wave E, we'd be looking for a couple relationships. So the 618 between A and C, and also the equality relationship. So let's do that. And just to sub-label this, so this is likely our A down for E, B up, now working our C down for that larger E of 4. And let me just get that degree down one there. That should be good. Okay, so looking for something like that. And ideally, we just kind of end right around that equality relationship and also that 382, which comes in at 176.46. So, and if it goes a little deeper, maybe find some support along this AC trend line for this triangle trend line. So at this point, I haven't entered a position yet. Okay, now I'll go back to the daily chart. Have not entered a position yet, but I'm looking to do so fairly soon. And there's a few ways you can trade a triangle like this. So you can just buy a straddle basically any time now, and I'd probably be looking at June expiration or further, just to give enough room for this thing to materialize. So you can buy an at the money straddle, and then that way If you get the expected thrust up, great. The calls will do wonderful and more than outweigh the put, becoming worthless. Or vice versa, if we have a stab down, we could easily outperform with the puts to make up for the call losses. Or if you're going long stock, you can basically enter anywhere here, and obviously the C wave, that's your ideal level to put a stop. But if you really want to give it some breathing room, because I have seen occasionally just an intraday spike past that C wave, and then we go up as expected afterwards, just taking all the stops. So the A wave, that should be a real hard stop if you're going to play this with stock, and that's at 169.04. So you don't want to see this thing go below 169 for this to stay intact, this interpretation. I'll likely be playing this with some options, but I'm just waiting for that more ideal entry. And certainly on a, from a candlestick perspective, I'd love to see it come down here, find support, and then maybe do a candlestick buy signal, bullish engulfing, something like that, and then buy some calls or a call spread or whatever. But I just thought I'd present this as a nice opportunity in formation here. I don't think it's quite ready to take action on, but it's pretty close, so that's why I thought I'd bring it up. Just so, put it on your watch list. That's what I've done, and I'm just going to watch it carefully. Also, I'd like to just show the alternate possibility here. So there's definitely some sort of triangle forming, and I'm favoring that it's just likely a typical triangle that'll terminate wave 4 and then go up higher, but there's something else that could be going on. So let me just remove some of the labeling here just to go through that hypothetical scenario. Let's clean this up a bit. Okay, so we could have something more like this, and I think this is less likely, but it's certainly something to be aware of. We could have our A down, and we could be forming a B wave triangle, then come down one more time and C. And let me just bump up the degree here to minor. So this is definitely a possibility. And this whole triangle formation could be starting here, and maybe you have A, B, C, we're working D, and then there'll be an E. Let me drop that degree down a bit there. And then come down in C, and let me just, yeah, okay. And then complete wave 4 like that. That's a possibility, but I view it as less likely. And let me just sub-label this to kind of play devil's advocate. I don't think this is a 5-wave decline, but if you wanted to try and make this into a ABC zigzag with a triangle wave B, this is kind of how you'd go about it. And let me just take lines off there. Drop that degree down. And then you'd be working something like this, right? And maybe you would be starting from over here after you finish that wave E. Okay, so that's a possibility. So we have this overall A, triangle B, and then C down for 4. Now this is where buying the straddle would basically take advantage of either resolution to this pattern. Although I think we can be a little more precise about that and just go long once once it looks mature and we have a buy signal. That's my preferred method, but certainly straddle would work, whether we thrust down or thrust up. Anyway, I just had to highlight that because you always got to look at the alternative scenario in any pattern here. But in this case, I think it's a pretty high confidence bullish continuation pattern, and definitely worth watching. And I'll certainly do an update once I do a trade entry, and we'll go from there. All right, Serial Trader signing off.